It's a pleasure to be here with you this morning. 214 years ago, a man dared to dream. He dared to dream of a day when oppression would be transformed into freedom and justice, when children would not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Yet over half a century later, here we stand, a nation divided, where hatred, oppression, and bigotry continue its relentless onslaught against those who dare to dream. We live in a nation where the cries for justice are often drowned out by the rhetoric of hate. A nation where the walls that we build transcend the physical structures of steel and concrete on our borders, as brick by brick we raise walls of exclusion and privilege, of wealth and poverty, walls built out of violence, greed, misinformation, and fear. A nation where Charlottesville, Virginia, a place where I once lived and served as a community leader, has become emblematic of the hatred and violence that plague our society. When we demean others and rob them of their humanity, we diminish our own humanity. Yet we live in a time where many are labeled as criminals and undesirable simply because of the color of their skin, where mothers fear that an innocent encounter with authorities will turn deadly for their children. We see families torn apart, children separated from their undocumented parents simply because they sought to pursue their dreams of finding a better life, free of violence and poverty. A nation where young men and women, aptly named dreamers, some of them students here at our very colleges, have become political pawns, being threatened with deportation, taken from the only place that they know as home to a place that they barely know, where they may be subjected to violence or worse. This nation, built on the scar backs of slaves and the sweat of immigrants, on land often taken from those that came before us, once sought to be a beacon of freedom to the world, once sought to be a land of the free. But now it is the world that holds us accountable and clamors for us to live up to the principles that we set forth as self-evident truth, that we are created equal, endowed by their creators with inalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. As darkness threatens to engulf us and kill that dream born of hope, that dream still unfulfilled, I ask, dare we dream? Dare we stand against the onslaught that seeks to drown our cries, to turn our dreams into nightmares? Dare we dream? I say yes. Because if not us, then who? Many years ago, through my work in Memphis and on the project of Lived Theology, I had the privilege of meeting and working with some of the icons of the civil rights movement. I remember sharing a lunch with the Reverend Billy Kyles, who stood with Dr. King on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel on that fateful April evening as they waited for dinner. I remember him sharing with me why he got involved with the civil rights movement and how he could not remain silent when he saw the suffering of the people in his congregation. I remember one hot summer afternoon in Charlottesville, Virginia, sharing a couch with Victoria Gray Adams, one of the founders of the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, after working together at a conference. I remember thanking her for her work and asking her what it was like to be part of such a historic movement. And I still remember her words to me, "Luis, we did not set out to make history. We simply heeded the call. We did what we had to do. We did what was right." And she looked down and said, "I'm worried about our future generations. Luis, you don't need to thank me. You need to carry on the work. We laid the foundation, but now it's up to your generation and those that are to come. These great leaders are no different from us. They were ordinary people living in extraordinary times. Rosa Parks was a seamstress, tired after a long day, who made a defiant decision in an instant and had the courage of character to remain steadfast and become a symbol of the times. I remember one of my students in Memphis, a small elderly woman from Mississippi, mighty in spirit with 1,000 tales to tell, who was finally able to pursue her dream of an education. I remember her telling me of the day her Baptist church chose a young, unseasoned minister to come to serve as their pastor. How they almost did not pick him because they did not think he was that great of a preacher. But how she saw him grow in his search for justice to be the leader whose life we're celebrating this morning. These great leaders did not set out to lead a movement that changed the course of a nation. They were ordinary people like you and I who dared to dream. And they did not do it alone. For many whose names are lost to the shadows of history also worked tirelessly to reverse the ties of hatred and bigotry. These great leaders and countless witnesses are no longer with us, but we stand not in their shadow, but on their shoulders. But I ask you this morning, who will carry their legacy and ensure that their dreams live on? If not us, then who? Although we might not set out today to make history, we are living in historic times, and history will judge us by our actions or inaction. To remain silent is to remain complicit. This is our time, and we must take a stand. Thus I ask you, dare we dream? I say yes, because if not us, then who? Thus, I dare to dream. I dare to dream because, like Dr. King, I believe that we can transform society, and that while the moral arc of the universe is long, it does indeed bend towards justice. I dare to dream because I believe that the work that we do in educating our community is transforming lives. Among Victoria Gray Adams' many contributions to the civil rights movement was her fight to teach literacy and educate her community, because she knew the power of education. Knowledge frees the mind. It frees us to ambition a new possibility and to critique the structures that imprison us. Throughout the ages, education was reserved for the elite, for the wealthy, and for the powerful. There was a time not too long ago where many were kept from the great halls of education, a time where access to education was not equal to all, a time when segregation kept our education separate but not equal. Today, education still marks a great divide where some communities have greater access than others, a divide that threatens our future. Many of our schools that serve the most disadvantaged students, minorities, immigrants, and low income, are still woefully underfunded, trying to do their best with the meager resources that are available to them. While most studies indicate that 65% of the jobs in 2020 will require some college, the numbers of African American, Latinos and Latinas, and first-generation college students who attend college are still far, far lower than that of the general population. If we are to achieve equity, education must be part of the solution. In an age of knowledge, where information is capital, education cannot be a commodity reserved solely for the wealthy and for the elite. Education is a basic human right. you have heard that the truth will set you free. But I ask you, how can we be a nation grounded in freedom if we devalue education? If we choose to ignore truth when it goes counter to our belief? The well-known motto of the Washington Post states that democracy dies in darkness, but I say to you that it also dies in ignorance. An educated population would know that there was a time when nativists sought to keep Irish immigrants from coming to our shore. They would know of the many times we raided, invaded, and occupied Haiti and other countries in Africa and Central America, creating the conditions that they must now endure. Some say that we live in a post-truth era, but I choose to believe in the power of knowledge to set free the mind and the human spirit. Thus, I dare to dream of a day when we will value education and see it as an investment in our future and in the future of our democracy. I dare to dream because I see the growing diversity of our community, not as a weakness, but as our strength. The immigrant who dares to dream of building a better future, who bring their will and determination to succeed, seasoning our community with a vibrant new perspective, giving us a glimpse into the strengths of the human spirit. I dare to dream because I see in our community and across the nation coming together as never seen before. White, brown, black, people of all religions, gender, and sexual orientation, united by the nature of their character to stand up against injustice, discrimination, hatred, and violence. In spite of the rhetoric that divides us, the walls that separate us, the violence that threatens us, we still come together, urged onward by our thirst for justice. I dare to dream because I believe in the strengths of the human spirit and in our determination. I see in our students every day pursuing their dreams. I see it even though some of them face hunger each day or struggle to put a roof over their heads. Single mothers and fathers working hard each day to etch out a meager existence. They show up determined to succeed, seeking knowledge and dreaming of a better life. I dare to dream because I too was once an immigrant, a first-generation college student who grew up in poverty, surrounded by inner city violence, a bad hombre, determined to succeed. And I know these young men and women I encounter every day are far more determined than I ever was. I dare to dream because I see it, the determination in the dreamers that I've met. Young men and women who work multiple jobs, yet are paving the way for others, placing their lives at risk, many speaking for justice and laboring, not only for their rights, but for the rights of others. I see it in the hope of the undocumented worker, who in spite of the risks and perils, still come to our borders, dreaming of a better day, a day that may never come. The dream did not die that April evening in Memphis. It lives on in each and every one of us. It lives on in each and every one of us who dare to dream. They may kill the dreamer, but they cannot kill the dream. The dream lives on the grassroots movements throughout a nation that dares to stand up against those who might use their authority to deny others of their basic human rights. It lives on in the undocumented students and dreamers. It lives on in our classrooms and in our students. It lives on in the very fabric of our democracy. I dare to dream that the day will come when we will no longer label people, when we will no longer call them thugs, bad hombres, or nasty women, or call them other vile names, but instead see them as our brothers and sisters, not defined by their race, religion, or gender, but by our common humanity. I dare to dream of a day when we will no longer need to remind the world that Black lives matters, that hate has no place here. And when all who dare to dream are welcome to our shores. I dare to dream of a day when those who struggle for justice and equity can rest. Dare we dream? I say yes. For if not us, then who?
Great speech, Doctor. And welcome to Worcester. Your presence here today as Speaker of the 33rd Worcester County Community Breakfast and as President of the Quinsigamond Community College serves as an example to our increasingly diverse city. And everyone has a right to dare to dream, to succeed. It is my pleasure to present you to the key of the city of Worcester in recognition of your work as President of Quinsigamond Community College and commitment to the city of Worcester. This is made by the Worcester Technical High School. Kids, you usually have to be here a year before you get a key, but you're an exception. Thank you very much. Okay, picture right here. Thank you.